Great. Here we go. So glad to have you all here. Tonight we are talking about and attuning to light. So we're calling tonight's presentation Experience, Opening to the Light. So we need to define that a little bit. What do we mean when we say light? So to explain that in a kind of a roundabout way, let me say that sometimes people will ask me, so Scott, what is your religious or spiritual orientation? What is your background? Are you a Christian? Are you a Buddhist? Are you a Hindu? Are you a Sufi? Are you a, because I've devotionally involved myself in these spiritual traditions. And so it's a valid question they're asking. And it's not easy to answer. The short version is, I'm a mystic. And a mystic is someone who seeks to connect with the reality behind the appearance. That's actually a Sufi saying, that which exists behind that which appears. Right? Do you follow that? That which exists behind that which appears. So a mystic is one who is interested in that which exists behind that which appears. That which appears comes and goes. That which exists behind what appears is always the same. So a mystic is one who is interested in a direct experience with Source, and seeks to experience Source through manifestation. Another way of saying this is that mystics are interested in the esoteric, not the exoteric. Now, those words may be new for some of you and not for others. Let me just briefly explain. The exoteric aspect of religion is its outer form, exoskeleton. It's its outer form, the belief structure and the dogmas and the doctrines and the rituals, the outer form of religion. That's the exoteric aspect of religion. The esoteric aspect of religion is the spirit behind all of that, right? The essence of the spiritual movement or the spirituality. So a metaphor for this is there are many wells, but one underground river, right? Many wells to try to access that river. Those represent all the various religions and spiritual traditions. And the exoteric aspect of this is the structure of the well itself, how well it's dug and the stones that line it. And, you know, some religions, of course, are very elaborate in their rituals and in their dogma and doctrine. Nothing wrong with that at all. That can be a very beautiful thing. It can lend one to the esoteric if done correctly and in the right spirit. Some religions seem to have lost all connection to the river and are only concerned about the perpetuation of the well. And so that's unfortunate. So mystics are interested mostly in the groundwater, the ground table, the underground river. That's what they're interested in. Not so much the exoteric aspect, the well, the structure, the doctrines, the dogmas, not so much. You won't find mystics arguing and debating with one another, you know, because when mystics get together, no matter what tradition they're coming from, what well they happen to access the river through, they end up talking about the same thing, the nature of the river, the nature of spirit, right? The nature of contact with the divine. So from a mystic standpoint, the universe, as I have defined it in various classes, the universe is a multitudinous expression of a single consciousness, right? Now I know I'm preaching to the choir here. The universe is a multitudinous expression of a single consciousness. And the nature of that consciousness, the expression of that consciousness, the nature of that consciousness prior to form is light. That's how it's experienced. The light of consciousness gives rise to all manifestation. All manifestation is made out of the light of consciousness. Everything that arises in form arises out of the light of consciousness, runs its course within the light of consciousness, and returns to the light of consciousness. The mystic seeks to see the light of consciousness in all forms. The forms are just a mask or a window to a unique window into which one can perceive the divine presence. So how would form function if it were completely aware of itself as light? This is the problem, of course, is that layers and layers of form, meaning not just physical, but also emotional and mental, layers and layers of form lay over the light within and obscure it, make it very difficult to see. So how would form look and function if it were aware, fully aware, and there was nothing left to block the expression of that light? Well, to answer that question, we can look at the great masters who have walked the planet, whose work at clearing their egos were completely finished, and they were nothing but the expression of the light of divine consciousness. Jesus has this wonderful teaching, this wonderful saying. He's speaking as the light of divine consciousness. He says, I am the light of the world. Whoever walks with me will never know darkness, but will have the light of life. Wow, the light of life. That's what we're talking about here. That's what we're looking to connect with and attune to, and ultimately come to realize as our true self, the light of consciousness, the light of life. When the Buddha was on his deathbed, it said that his followers were around him and anxious about who he would name as his successor. And they were asking him, who is going to lead us to enlightenment when you're gone? And it said that his answer was, be your own light. Be your own light. In other words, refer to the inner light as your teacher and guide. In Buddhism, when all the obscurations are pulled away and all the illusion is dropped and all the ignorance has been sloughed, one says to have an enlightened mind. It's called in Buddhism the luminous mind, or the mind of clear light. Right? That's what we see and know when all the illusions are pulled away. So, as you might imagine, I have to use my favorite metaphor, and those of you that have heard me talk about the overhead projector 40 times, please forgive me. See if you can practice beginner's mind with me. So it's just such a beautiful metaphor, this overhead projector. I was just talking with a young person today, actually, about the overhead projector, and they were kind of scratching their head, so, because they're not used, I think, any longer. We have a few teachers online tonight. Maybe they could tell us whether they're used anymore. So the overhead projector, as you know, is a box with a brilliant light in it and a plane of glass. And you lay transparencies on the glass and the light shines through it. It's caught by a lens and it's projected onto the screen. So once in a while, I like to bring my overhead projector to class and set it up. And then I have a stack of transparencies, and they represent the stories of the mind, and they represent the emotional energies that revolve around and support those stories. And I lay these transparencies down one at a time, and they build on one another. And you can begin to see what's happening on the screen is there's less and less light, and there's more and more mess. Does that sound like the world that we're currently living in? Less and less light and more mess. So the problem isn't that the light is not present. It is absolutely present. The problem is that we have this stack of transparencies that seemingly separate us from our felt sense of connection to the light. So spiritual practices, from my perspective, fall into two categories. Spiritual practices fall into two categories. One is a practice that attunes or aligns us, opens us to connection with the light itself. That's what we're going to be doing tonight. And the other category of spiritual practice is those practices that seek to remove the obscurations, that seek to work through and process out our karmas, or the overhead projector transparencies that obscure the brilliant light that's present. And so those practices are very necessary to clear out, to purify the being of all the ignorance and all the illusion and all the karmas and all the unresolved business. So what we're going to be doing tonight is the first practice, which is checking in, attuning to the light of consciousness. And then on Saturday, if you can come for the Soham Satsang, we're going to be doing a practice having to do with lots of purification, clearing. It's called the Art of Letting Go. It will be a series of clearing practices. So let me just address real quickly, I think a question came in. Why would the light of consciousness want to express itself in such the negative, mean ways that we see all around us? Yes. I have to severely limit my social media exposure in order to stay grounded and not to fall into despair. Yeah. That's a beautiful question. Thank you so much. So I don't suppose to have a perfect answer for that, for sure. But I can tell you this. Our evolution, the evolution of consciousness, is from complete and utter forgetting of its true nature to the complete and utter resolution of its true nature. That's the gig, that's the journey. The one consciousness manifests as numerous and manifold expressions, beings. These beings, this consciousness, as it hides itself in matter, forgets its true nature. And through its own life experiences, due very much in part because it's forgotten, slowly but surely those life experiences begin to create a yearning for its remembering, yearning for its home, a yearning to go back home, so to speak. So sometimes it is the very darkness that ripens us to explore and to pursue the light. People come to me as a therapist, and it's almost always because they're in some kind of crisis. And the crisis creates a readiness for them to open to deep exploration and deep healing and deep understanding. If the crisis hadn't occurred, there wouldn't have been a kind of deep yearning to resolve that crisis and be able to transcend it. So the darkness, we live in a reality of opposites, right? And so we can't know the light without knowing the darkness. The experience of the darkness creates this deep yearning for the light. So it's very important that we're able to see what's going on in the world from a larger perspective, not just from the perspective of what's happening right here and now, but what's led up to it and what will come as a result of it. So I've said this many times, this is the Keyhole Syndrome. You familiar with the Keyhole Syndrome? It's looking into a mansion through the keyhole and imagining that you know what's going on in the mansion. So let's say that you look through the keyhole and you see fire. And so you assume the mansion is on fire. This is a very terrible thing. The mansion is on fire because that's all you can see when you look through the keyhole. But if you were to open the door and go in and explore the mansion, you would see that the keyhole view was leading you right into the fireplace. And actually, it's warm and cozy in the mansion, and the fireplace is burning, and people are reading and enjoying their company with one another, right? But we wouldn't have known that just by looking through the keyhole. So our tendency as egos is to look at what's happening in the world or in our lives like looking through that keyhole. We just see the pain, or we just see the heartache, or we just see the epidemic and think, where is the light? The light cannot be found. But we have to understand that there is a larger unfolding that's taking place. How we respond to this moment, this crisis, this challenge, how we respond, if we can respond to it from light, it will reveal itself as light. Let me say that again. If we can respond to our individual and collective challenges and crises from the light, we will be able to perceive it as the light. All right. So let's get into our practice for tonight. And the intention here is to open ourselves to the felt experience of the light of spirit, the light of divine consciousness. That is, it turns out in the end, our true nature. Now, this light is more than metaphor. It's very real, but it can't be perceived with the physical eyes. It's unspeakably refined and subtle. So it can only be perceived with the soul. It can only be perceived with our intuitive awareness. And not everybody is used to using their intuitive awareness, right? And so it may take a little practice for people to begin to sense the reality of the light as it flows, as it radiates in the heart center. So tonight, if you're kind of new to it, most of you have been hanging out in classes like this in various settings for many years. And so it won't be new for a lot of you. But if it happens to be new for some of you that are here tonight or that are watching this later on, then be patient with yourself. And we have to learn how to sense with the heart, right? With the internal vision, rather than trying to see it through the physical eyes or figure it out with our intellect. All right, so that said, I invite you to find a posture that is erect and tall. It's okay if you're sitting cross-legged. If you're not, then make sure your feet are flat on the floor. That'll be part of our grounding tonight. Begin to take longer, slower, deeper breaths and close your eyes. And relax the body. Longer, slower, deeper breathing. And let's just remember our intention to open to the light of spirit, to the light of our true nature, the light of our higher self. Make sure that you use language that is conducive to opening and being receptive. If there's a certain language that I use that isn't resonant with you, it's not necessary for you to use it. Use language in your own meditation that works for you. So first of all, just check in with your current state of consciousness. Just with curiosity and acceptance. Just noticing that maybe some of you is kind of still at work or thinking about what'll happen after the class, or not fully, quite fully present. Notice if there are some emotional energies that you're aware of that seem to be up for you or that are kind of forward in your experience. Now, as you continue to breathe a fuller, deeper breath, I want you to begin to direct it. I want you to begin to breathe in from between or through between the shoulder blades. Just imagine there's an opening, a portal between the shoulder blades. I want you to draw your inhalation in through that space between the shoulder blades, through that portal, and into your heart center, into your chest. So you breathe it in from behind and then breathe it out in all directions. See or feel or imagine that what you're breathing in is the light of the soul. The soul is the presence of spirit in this particular body mind, in this particular manifestation. And it is always present, ever present. But I'd like you just to think of this as coming from the space behind the heart, that we're breathing in from the space, what's called the space behind the heart. And inviting and drawing in the light of the soul with every inhalation into the heart center, and then with every exhalation, letting it radiate out in all directions. You might hold the breath at the top of the inhalation ever so slightly and gently, just to be able to concentrate on that sense of this light energy of the soul coming in from behind the heart center. Coming into the personality self, which is the physical, emotional, and mental bodies, through the space between the shoulder blades, this portal. Some of you are very visual and you'll see a sense of light. Some of you are more kinesthetic and you'll feel a gentle vibration of what may feel like love energy coming into the heart center. Or you may just simply feel a shift in your state of consciousness, a quieting, a settling, a calming effect as the light of the soul comes into the heart center. Give yourself permission to see beyond the senses, to experience beyond the limitations of your conditioning, to let go of any limiting beliefs. Oh, this can't be real. Just let go. Know that the light of supreme consciousness wants to be known by you, wants to be invited by you. Know that this is not something separate from you. We are never separate from Source, except in the mind full of transparencies that keep us from experiencing the light. Then the mind makes up all kinds of stories about separation and abandonment and not being good enough, and this is a sucky life and so forth. So tonight we want to let go of any of that conditioning that says we're not worthy, or the light isn't real, this is all just made up in the mind. We want to let go of all those obscurations, let go of all those limitations, and give ourselves over to the experience of the divine light. So then just sit in the heart center for a moment and see or feel or visualize that the heart center is now just radiating with light. Some of you can feel a subtle warmth coming off the heart. All the way through this meditation, I invite you to cultivate openness and receptivity. And if you choose, take openness and receptivity to another stage, a deeper stage, which is the stage of surrender, where you would open and surrender your life to the divine light. Now, some of you may not be at that place. That's totally fine. Just cultivate, if you choose, cultivate a sense of openness and receptivity to the light. Best you can. Stay out of your thinking mind. Visualize radiance. The light of love, the light of infinite intelligence that so profoundly loves you and all aspects of your experience. Please hear me say this to you. Please see if you can find an openness for this truth. This radiant light in your chest is the light of love and infinite intelligence. And it deeply loves every aspect of your being and of your experience. Being itself your source. And being the very essence of you as you move through your life experiences. Even as we languish in ignorance and illusion, this light of spirit, this light of the soul, loves and guides and supports us, typically from behind the scenes, until we invite it forward. Ask it to take up residence at the helm of our life rather than the trunk. So we continue now with a different visualization. Light beginning to stream down from high above the head. So you turn your intuitive awareness up and see that high above the head, at the highest level of divine consciousness, there is light streaming down. A beam or a shaft or a column of light streaming down and entering your chakric system through the crown. See this, feel it, or visualize it. Streaming down from above. entering in through the crown and slowly flowing, radiating through each chakra, down the chakric column, all the way down to the root chakra. Take your time. Open and receptive. It continues to flow down all the way through the chakric system to the root chakra, and then down the legs and out the soles of the feet, like energetic roots down into the earth. Keep refreshing the visualization by going back up and seeing this light coming down from high above the head and radiating through your energetic system, radiating through your physical body, and pouring out your physical feet and pouring down into the earth, where you see that the light continues to pour all the way down to the core of the earth, where it anchors there, grounds into the heart of Mother Earth. Allow this visualization to unfold until it will, for many of you, become a felt experience, because it is absolutely real. To the perception of the soul. So continue to see this light flowing down from above. It's now radiating through the entire body. Every cell of your body is shining with this light. Every subatomic particle is vibrating with the frequency of this light. Open to the blessings of this descending light of spirit. Open to the blessings of this descending light of spirit. See the light shining down from high above, and also, in addition to flowing through the body, it radiates down and around the body into the auric field, into our energy centers. Our energy field. So the light becomes brilliant both within and without. And we are held in this column of light from high above the head all the way down through to the core of the earth. Keep refreshing that visualization, opening to the experience. Now, if you choose to, if this resonates with you, invite the light to penetrate deeply into every aspect of your being and to touch everything that is not yet resonant and aligned with this light. All the unresolved issues, all the painful energies and karmas in your shadow, everything held in the subconscious mind that pulls you away from connection with perception of alignment with this light, everything that distracts you from the light of spirit. Invite the light to infuse into it and heal it and transform it. This is where, if it's resonant with you, this is where surrender becomes so important. I surrender to the descending light of spirit. Have your way with me. This light is infinite divine intelligence. And so you can talk to it, invite it, ask it, share yourself with it. This light is infinite divine love. And if you ask and open to it, will heal everything in you that feels unlovable, that feels leavable, that feels unworthy. Will heal everything in you that's resonating with fear and anxiety. Invite the light into the depths of your darkness, which we all have. Until we have allowed ourselves to be filled with, healed by, transformed by this light of spirit, this light of God, this light of consciousness. Now, to enhance this experience, I'm going to be saying for a bit the Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra, the mother of all mantras, invokes the descending light of spirit, calls down the highest light of God. If you know this mantra and you want to say it with me, that's wonderful. Please do. I'm going to put it on your screen. If you don't know it, then don't try to figure it out right now. Stay in this kind of inward experience and just listen to the mantra and feel how the mantra will invoke a more intense experience of this descending light of spirit. So the mantra is on your screen. Stay internally focused and open to an enhanced or an intensified descent of this light as you listen to the mantra, flowing in and around you, all the way down to the core of the earth. Om Bhu Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhu Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhu Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhu Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhu Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhu Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhu Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. And so just visualizing or feeling, sensing this continued descending light of spirit, penetrating down into the deepest, darkest aspects of your being, aligning all aspects of your being with spirit, aligning all aspects of your being with spirit. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Light pouring down. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Om Bhuvaha Swaha. Om Tat Savitur Varenyam. Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonaha Prachodayat. Light coming down, moving through, all the way down to the core of the earth. Now, concentrate in the heart center, where the descending light of spirit and the light of soul become one, right here in the heart center. And just feel as though the sun itself, a mini sun, has taken up residence in your chest. And if you are inclined, if this is resonant with you, invite this light of divine intelligence and love and power to lead and guide you into a life free of shame and fear, into a life of love and wisdom in service to the uplifting and awakening of human consciousness. Now, to that end, I invite you to do something else. And again, only if this is resonant with you. It's always your choice. You always have choice to do this or not. But if you choose to, open yourself to and invite the great masters of the spiritual hierarchy, all the ascended masters, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all the liberated saints and sages of all religions, to add their light to yours right here in the heart, to blend their light and to intensify your light with their light right here in your heart center. And to infuse into you the same deep desire to be of service to the world, as is utterly sovereign in their lives. The deep desire to be of service to the world in whatever way Spirit would guide you into. To be a part of the solution. So you invite the light of these great beings who are inclining their awareness and their love and their power and their grace to help facilitate this very challenging time and a movement through it to an evolution in human consciousness. We open to their light. To join with this light in our hearts. And feel as though the light in the heart has just simply become too radiant, too brilliant to contain it any longer. And it radiates out horizontally to everyone who is on this call tonight, everyone who is present, including all those who will watch and participate in this session later on, including them, that your light goes to everyone who's here present tonight. It radiates powerfully to everyone else with the deep wish that this light will serve their highest good, heal them at the deepest level, transform them pervasively, and awaken them to their true nature. And also the light radiates to everyone that you are connected to, family, friends, associates, neighbors, peers. This takes no effort. This is just an allowing. Your heart center just becomes a channel. Just a center through which this divine light and love and power radiates out into the world. Send it out beyond that into your communities. Send it out beyond that into the nation, to all the contexts where there is unrest and injustice and struggle and heartache and anger and hatred and violence. Let the light that is radiating in your heart penetrate, infuse into all these dark corners of human consciousness, into all these dark expressions of despair, hopelessness, helplessness. Let it pour out beyond the boundaries of the nation to the entire world. This is easy for this light. This light is limitless. Just make yourself available to it. Keep yourself open. Invite the light to shine through you into human consciousness across the planet. Into sickness, into despair, into sadness and grief, into profound anxiety and fear. Let the light in the heart just powerfully radiate out into the world. To all beings, to all expressions of life, to all expressions of the one consciousness, to the very planet itself, let your light shine. And feel in your soul how this is, at least in part, your soul's purpose, to be used in this way. to be a conduit of divine love and light and love and power, wisdom, a conduit, a channel, an embodiment of divine truth and love. For the descending light of spirit pouring itself out onto the planet right now to anchor onto the planet through you and to become sovereign as the central aspect of your consciousness. Let go of all visualizations now and rest in the light that is in your heart. Just intuitively sense its radiance and warmth, its intelligence, its love for you as your higher self, its availability to you for inspiration and guidance, for support and strength and perseverance and understanding, for all the things that you need in this very challenging time. All those things that you need, that light in your heart is. If you could but open to it, give it permission to operate in your life. So take a nice deep breath. Begin to bring yourself around. Feel what it's like to be in this body with the feet on the floor, supported by the chair or the couch. And as you begin to open your eyes, see if you can stay in touch with the radiance in your heart, as though you're looking around the room from that light, as that light. All right. Thank you so much for your participation tonight.